As you drive across the plains of South Dakota towards the Badlands, you can see these rock formations. They were formed actually when this was under a shallow ocean. This was thousands of years ago. Now this is Buffalo Gap National Grasslands and Badlands National Park. Many ancient Paleo-Indian peoples came to these lands to hunt. They would actually stand up on those rock formations, just like the person in the image there, and scan for animals. That way they could stand up on the Badland walls and actually look out across the plains and find food like buffalo, antelope, and mule deer. Eventually, the Lakota tribe became the most dominant tribe of this area. The most famous Lakota chief would be Chief Sitting Bull, as seen in the image. The Lakota would travel from the Missouri River area to these grasslands every year to hunt. This was a sacred land for them, as was the Black Hills, which is on the other side of the grasslands in this area. The Black Hills were a very important area for the Lakota, and they regarded it as sacred land. This made them extremely upset when the land was taken from them by the U.S. government. Today, most of the land is still controlled by the U.S. government. In fact, the famous Mount Rushmore monument actually still sits in an area that used to be sacred Lakota land in the Black Hills. After the Homestead Act of 1862, many Americans started to travel to this area to turn it into farmland. They ripped up the natural grass that was growing there and attempted to plant things like corn. Unfortunately, this led to a destruction of the soil, which then eventually led to something called the Dust Bowl, which is where basically the soil got so bad in that area because of the attempted farming that they had to, many of the people had to abandon their farms because it just became so impossible to live there. Eventually, the U.S. government bought a lot of this land back and tried to turn it back into the natural grassland that it once was. And that's how you get the Buffalo Gap National Grassland and also the Badlands National Park. Eventually, the U.S. government decided the best way to control the Native Americans was actually to kill off all the buffalo. They would kill off the buffalo, removing the food source for the Native Americans, but then they would also replace those buffalo with cattle, which could be raised by American farmers to make more money and also provide food. Ranchers can still lease national grasslands lands to actually run their cattle on, but they have to also allow other animals to thrive there as well. Actually, this area is a great American pronghorn hunting area. You can actually get a tag as seen in that image there. Just make sure you find the animal before the coyotes do, because the coyote population has returned as well, as you can see from the results of this carcass. The Lakota were forced to move to the Pine Ridge Reservation, which is actually in this same grassland area, but out of the Black Hills. This area is still where the Pine Ridge Reservation is today. The Pine Ridge Reservation is actually currently under a state of emergency due to the fact that crime is at an all-time high. Gun violence, drug abuse, and rape has increased significantly. And unfortunately, the Pine Ridge Reservation only has 33 officers to patrol an area the size of Connecticut. They are currently suing the U.S. government to try to have the U.S. government provide more financial support to help them with law enforcement.